So that, interestingly enough, as it relates to our contact with white people, in my neighborhood, there were no white people. We had white folks who lived down the street from us, and our only interaction was a wooded area where the boys, black and white, would use their BB guns to hunt birds. And we would meet each other in the woods, and whenever we saw each other, we would have BB gun wars with the white boys who lived down the street and with us. And it was an interesting experience because we didn't know why we were shooting at them, and we didn't know why they were shooting at us. All we knew is that they were white and we were black, and we were supposed to be against each other for whatever reason. Those kids never did anything to us. We never did anything to them. But the acrimony was that we were supposed to not like each other, and that we knew that much. And so that was our earliest experiences with whites. Nobody taught us to dislike white people. Nobody ever said anything about it. There were just certain interactions that we knew we were supposed to have and knew that we were not supposed to have. So then the earliest experiences growing up in the early 60s was going downtown. And if you got downtown, you either walked downtown or you caught the 25-cent New Deal cabs. We called them quarter killers back then. And that was the black form of mass transportation. And you could catch a quarter killer New Deal cab for a quarter from your home, where they would pick you up, to downtown. And when you got downtown, of course, the most prominent display would be Hemmings Park. And at Hemmings Park, you had the black and white bathrooms. You had the white, I should say, and colored water fountains. In fact, the park itself was divided. On one side, you had yellow cab and white folks, and on the west side, you had a New Deal cab and the black folks. They had their side of the park, we had our side of the park. And we never thought about using their bathrooms or using their water fountains. We knew we weren't supposed to, and we also knew that we weren't supposed to go to the other side. We stayed on our side, and I distinctly remember they stayed on their side as well. There was, of course, the other department stores, which we were allowed to go in, but with regard to public accommodation at the snack bars, that was entirely different. Now, you could spend your money and go in the store and buy whatever you wanted, but you distinctly did not you knew not to sit down at the snack bar unless you were sitting at the colored portion of the snack bar. There were colored portions at Woolworth's and at Grant's where you could go and get great hot dogs, but you had best have your behind sitting in the right direction and in the right section when you came over there to order. It was simply the way it was. It was not anything mean-spirited on the part of your treatment in terms of service, as long as you were sitting in the right area. So the downtown experience was pretty weird as a child, and the only other experience I can think about was during the period of civil rights, which of course came later on in the 60s. And I was standing with my mother in front of Morrison's cafeteria where she had once worked, but you could not eat there, demonstrating along with the other activists from the NAACP and watching the Ku Klux Klan come by in an open bed truck in full regalia, all of their hoods and robes, and being frightened, standing there holding my mother's hand and listening to her words saying, "Don't be scared, Benny. They ain't gonna do nothing. Don't be scared." So Mom was a civil rights activist and came out to these marches despite the fact that she'd been instructed by my father not to do so. She did so anyway and took me along with her, which instilled for me the kind of passion that I have right now as a civil rights activist here in Jacksonville. What else can I talk about? I can't think of how education inequality impacted my life in the short term, except to say that we weren't exactly motivated a lot, except by some of our high school teachers, I think in later years. But for the most part, education was just something that you just did. I wish I'd been much more active and much more involved as a youngster, and wish I'd been given the kind of motivation as to what I could be or how it might turn out if I applied myself more. I think that is what we lose when we think back on segregation and its impact on students.